like to hear the Puppeteers play the characters that you cheer. So join us as we go below the frame.
On this episode of Below the Frame, we will be talking with Muppet performer Julianne Busher. We talk about her life as an introvert, living in Los Angeles and being an improviser with Second City, working on Dinosaurs, Sesame Street, the Muppets, and so much more. We'll also learn about spatial awareness in puppetry. So stand back. It's time to go below the frame.
Go below the frame.
Welcome to Below the Frame. We are the podcast that talks to honest-to-goodness, real-life, in-the-flesh Muppet performers and, of course, other people in the Muppet universe. I am your host, Matt Vogel, and if this is your thing, if this is the kind of podcast that you are interested in, great. This is the podcast for you. Something else that we do here on Below the Frame is we give you tips on your puppetry. We, kind of frame it in these cute little ads about something like arm rods, or today we're doing one on spatial awareness, and then we give a little talk about that topic, and we give you some real information that you can actually apply to your puppetry, if that's your thing. And if that is your thing, wonderful. This podcast is for you. If, however, it's not really your thing, that's okay. Maybe it's time for you to, fast forward or, go get yourself a snack or something while we do the fake ads and the informational puppetry lesson, and that's okay. Yet another thing that we do is we allow my oldest son, Jack, to give me a hard time. And I imagine that that very thing is going to happen on this episode around the 25-minute mark or so. So if you are just here for the Jack Vogel content, amazing. This podcast is also for you. And if you like, you can go ahead and skip to that part of the podcast. What I'm saying is, we've got it all here on Below the Frame. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I think that is what I'm saying. But my point, if I do have a point, is that I would love for you to share this podcast with someone you know, someone in your family or somebody that's a friend, or, share it on social media. Heck, you could even share it with somebody you don't like. It doesn't matter. I'm just hoping that we can all keep getting the word out there that this podcast is for people who love the Sesame Street and the Disney Muppets and the Muppet performers too. I don't want anybody to miss out. So that's enough of that, and let's get on to it, because today on Below the Frame, we are going to be hearing from Muppet performer Julianne Busher. She plays Yolanda Rat, Beverly Plume from Muppets Now, streaming now on Disney+. She originated the role of Sherry Netherland on Sesame Street, and she has done a ton of voice acting as well. And she's had a lot of success. But her life hasn't been all rosy and wonderful. There was a time in her life that was really difficult for her, and we are going to talk about that as well. And I'm looking forward to you guys hearing Julianne's story, so let's get to it, all right? I'm ready. Are you ready? Can I get a show of hands, please? Great, you are ready. So let's go Below the Frame with Julianne Busher. Julianne Busher, welcome to Below the Frame. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Hey, thanks for being here.
This is just what we do at work every day.
I know, it really is. That's what's the great thing about our job, is that a lot of it is spent just laughing. I would like to go back to your roots.
Oh.
Back to your roots.
Ooh.
You grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. That's what the internet says. Is that correct?
No. I grew up
said.
in a very tiny little town outside of Cleveland.
Oh, so Ohio.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so it was close. So the internet was just missed it.
Yes. But an adorable, charming little, White House picket fence community. Lots of cows and corn and bowling, and that's about it.
Did you grow up on a farm?
Around a farm. I grew up, my dad was, I think, fourth generation of our family hardware store in our cute little town.
Yeah.
Our 19th century little hardware store. All red and cute. And so that's how I grew up.
What was it like growing up there?
Adorable.
Yeah?
Yeah,
kind of that picturesque American kid growing up. the
Yeah.
Midwest.
Yeah. Yeah. Walking in the snow to school and running in the back in the fields, the cabin that was built in the back for
You had a cabin in your backyard?
the backyard. Yeah.
From when? Who built it?
My mom and my dad.
Really? Well, tell me. You know what? Tell me about your family.
Um, Gosh, my mom and my dad both had like 6 or 7 brothers and sisters each. So gigantic family.
Some big families.
Yeah. So my mom and dad decided that we'll think two's enough for us. So my brother and I are Irish twins,
Oh,
which means we were
okay.
born less than a year apart.
I've got a couple of Irish
we-
twins as well. Or just, 2.
Oh, do you?
Got the 2. Yeah, our oldest 2. Our oldest 2 are pretty close in age. Happens.
Were they dressed in matching lederhosen and?
Yep, and we put like a little shamrock
really?
in there. Yeah, no.
Oh.
I don't know.
Oh, I was hoping someone else on Earth had that happen to them.
Wait, you were?
Yes. Oh yeah.
What do you mean?
My mom loved to make costumes, so we would be dressed up, especially to look like Hummels.
Yes, my mom had a collection of Hummels.
Really?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and the little shape of the little kids. Yes, with a lot of lederhosen.
Yes. And when we outgrew that, she started dressing my younger cousins that way, and actually took them to competition and won all the dress your child as a Hummel contest. For
Was
which
that a
would win.
thing?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
I had no idea.
And
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, the prize was a Hummel.
That checks out. I think that works. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Did you win? Did you ever win?
I won other contests, mostly the Halloween contests when she would do the costumes, and she would.
I was going to say, what kind of costumes was she making you?
Oh gosh, and everything. One was, of course, there's the usual, the angel and all of that. And once we found some gorilla masks where the jaws moved, these weird plastic masks, and they were hinged in the bottom jaw. So I was dressed like a cowboy gorilla. I had a banana in my holster. We won that, yeah.
Yeah, you better win. Who's going to come up with that? So your mom's really creative.
Very much, yeah. She would decorate the house for Christmas every year, and it would be in the paper, and it was a whole thing. Yeah, it was.
Other than dress up as a Hummel,
oh my!
What are the other kind of things you did as a kid?
I am an absolute introvert. So what I really wanted to do was draw. I wanted to do graphic novels, and eventually I discovered graphic novel is the way to just be everything in one situation: the director, all of the actors, the scene designer, the costumer, and you could just, it was on your time.
It's a world you're creating on your own. Absolutely.
Yeah, completely. And of course, the storyboards are basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I really was heading toward.
And were you drawing? Were you doing that?
Oh yeah.
Did you take classes or anything to learn how to draw, or were you self-taught?
No, I was self-taught and pretty inherent pretty quickly. And winning a lot of awards in the school for art.
That's pretty cool. How long did you do drawing and
that
art
was
like that?
Actually right up into college, into junior or senior year. That I was just set to go to college for art, but then for whatever reason, I was in the drama club and kind of enjoying that. And oh boy, I was in Catholic school. And the nuns got a bus and took a bunch of us to New York City.
What?
No, to go see some Broadway shows and learn about. I don't know how they got away with it. I don't know how we were allowed to go. But as soon as I saw, what did I see? 42nd Street. That was it.
You knew, I got to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that. I mean, that's crazy that the nuns would cram everybody in a bus and truck them off to New York to see some Broadway shows.
And I don't know how we snuck out to go to, oh gosh, where did we go? We went to some outrageous clubs.
You were a senior, or were you?
Yeah. And we took a bus to New York City.
So you were set to go to art school, though, prior to that.
Yeah.
Where were you going to go?
I actually hadn't decided yet. And there was some kind of summer program I was set to go do. And for whatever reason was not allowed to go. Not allowed to go to art school, but you're okay to go to New York City. I don't know how that worked out.
Go ahead.
But
So you see 42nd Street.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yes,
go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just excited because I remembered the name of the club. We
Please.
actually went to CBGB's. How did we get in when I was 18 years old? And we saw the and Jesus get out of that hole. Awesome.
Were the nuns thinking, oh, well, there's the name Jesus. We should go and see that band.
Yes, that sacred, blessed CBGB's.
Wow.
Go with our blessings. Be back by 2 a.m. I don't know how we got away with it.
Do you remember how many went to New York?
Maybe 12 of us, I think. Yeah, they had their hands full.
Yeah, they did. So regardless, you see 42nd Street and you're like, I got to be an actor. Or were you thinking, I want to dance and I want to sing and I want to act and I want to do it all on Broadway?
Yes. Yeah.
So then you kind of had to do a little course correct.
A little bit. Yeah. Because I was one of those triple threat kids, but big course correct. And then that was that's another frustrating thing because I was super excited to do that, but was not allowed to go to university outside of Ohio. Luckily,
yes,
there was the Wright State University has an incredible theater program in Dayton, Ohio. So went there.
Yeah.
Got myself kicked out because I did not want to be in Ohio anymore. Went for 2 years and ended up in the Goodman School of Drama, which is the theater school in Chicago.
And you got a BFA in acting.
Yes.
I have a BFA in acting.
Do you?
I do.
Where from?
I went to the Conservatory of Theater Arts at Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri.
Awesome.
Have you ever heard of it?
No.
That's okay. It's a very small, very, very small school. But they had a really great program when I was growing up. And then I
just remember us talking about St. Louis because as soon as I graduated, I went there to Kansas City, Missouri Repertory Theater.
Yeah. What did you do there?
My first Absent Friends. And then we toured America. That was an experience.
That show?
Yeah.
How long were you on tour?
Oh my gosh, like 3 or 4 months. It was crazy. It was amazing. That was my first equity job. Yeah.
Absent Friends at the Missouri Repertory Theater. I've also worked at the Missouri Rep.
Really? Awesome.
I have a couple times.
That's so cool.
So you wanted to be an actor, but you know what? What brought you to puppetry? Why would you? I mean, did you watch Sesame Street and the Muppet Show as a kid?
Oh gosh, yes. Oh gosh.
Were you a fan?
Very much. I just didn't connect that it was actually a career.
Right.
Now, Sesame Street had just come out when I was little, and we started watching it. I think I was 4 years old, and immediately learned how to read with the help of that. But really remember I didn't care for the human beings that talked. I'm like, I want to see the puppets. Don't stop.
Yeah. Show me the funny, furry, feathery goofballs.
Right?
Yeah.
That, but also the incredibly innovative pieces that Jim was doing. There's one that just keeps yanking at my heart every time I think about it. It was a daisy growing out of a brick wall. And I believe Vivaldi was the music behind it, one of his guitar concertos. And it was just so impactful and emotional and beautiful. And basically it ended up being the story of a daisy weeping because it was so delicate and beautiful, but it was growing out of a brick wall in a inner city, and just so far away from nature.
I'm not familiar with it, but...
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, you could just Google sad flower on Sesame Street.
Everybody Google sad flower if you've not seen it. So, but you didn't think this could be a career, because why would you? It's such a weird job.
And I should have connected something. My mom would get on the phone and talk to my younger nieces and nephews, like in Cookie Monster voice, and they totally believed her. And, so, I mean, it was there. It was happening, but I just didn't connect it. Until, actually, it was really, really soon, though. After I graduated in Chicago, I got all my union cards pretty much immediately, and then went out there and realized, okay, I'm now also at the age where I'm no longer on my parents' health insurance. So what do I do? Mm-hmm. And I'm union. Got to work. Like now. And I was a hostess at a restaurant, and there were
Where were you living at this time?
right in Hollywood. Oh my God.
So you were in LA.
Yep. Drove out. I drove out all by myself. Took 4 days.
And this was after, had you saved money? Was this after you had done that tour of absent friends and I'm guessing other things that you must have done?
Yeah, after I did the tour, actually the last leg of the tour ended up in Los Angeles. And there was one friend out there from school who had already moved out. And I met a bunch of people from Second City, and they're like, hey, if you come on back here and you'll get a job here at Second City. I'm like, oh, okay. So then that's what switched it from Broadway to Los Angeles. Everything just kind of seemed to point there. So packed up the car and drove to Beverly
Hills, that is.
Yeah.
So you're hostessing.
Yes.
And you see something. What did you see?
I saw a table full of people in Kermit jackets. I said, oh.
It's odd.
I walked up to them. I said, you know what? Thank you so much for everything you did and teaching children. And you really had an impact on me. And, the Vivaldi was running in through my mind. And they said, oh, gosh, thank you so much. Here's our card. If you ever want to come up and meet Jim, call anytime. He's a really nice guy. So what did you just say to me? Okay. Let me think about that. Unfortunately, I took the card and put it on my nightstand and thought about that and how unworthy I would be. And 3 weeks later, he passed away.
Yeah.
So that was when I said to myself, could you please just never say no to anything? Just say yes. Just do it. What's the,
Yeah.
So,
what's the harm? So what did you do then? What was your...
Then a couple weeks after that, there was a small ad in Dramalog, which was backstage, basically, that said, hey, we're looking for improv performers who want to try puppeteering because there's this new show. And it was Brian looking for dinosaur performers for the show Dinosaurs.
I see.
I said,
wait, before you go to that, I do have a question for you. You mentioned they were looking for improv performers. Were you doing improv? Did you go to Second City?
I did. Yes. And they're like, hey, cool. So I was performing at Second City.
Did you have to take classes first? And
immediately. For some reason, no. I don't know. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was super easy for me. So yeah, I've been doing improv for a super long time.
Because that was going to be one of my questions way down the line, Julianne. I was going to say where did you start improving? Because, it's been kind of a through line of yours in your career, I would say. So it
yes.
Kind of keeps coming back. He keeps coming back. So, okay. So back to the audition for Dinosaurs with Brian Henson. He wanted improvers and he wanted to teach them how to puppeteer.
Yes. I'm sure he was hoping that they already knew how. I went in, though, not knowing how. I'd never put a puppet on my arm in my life. So, but I said, I wouldn't say no. Don't say no. Don't say no. Put the puppet on. I wasn't, horrible, but I didn't know what I was doing. After the audition, put the puppet down, walked up to Brian. I said, my deepest apologies for being here. I kind of told him, this story really shortly and just said, thank you. I just wanted to do this and goodbye. He said, no, because you were not bad. Especially now knowing that you've never had one on before. I think I can teach you and let's stay in touch. And, it's like, ooh, okay. That was awesome. I wasn't asked to work on the first season of Dinosaurs. I went to do Riders in the Sky, which was a show from the Pee Wee Herman crowd, a puppet show.
But that was puppets and you did that?
Yes, that was my first puppet show. Yay!
Were they using monitors?
Yes. Yeah.
And in that Dinosaurs audition, were you put up in front of a monitor?
Yes. That was...
I mean, that's having never put on a puppet and then being told to get in front of a monitor and do something is First of all, very courageous. And second of all, it's hard.
Yes. Yes. I sound weird about it because it wasn't hard for me. The monitor thing made total sense. What was hard was I had this gigantic green monster that was just unwieldy, and I just had with a live hand, and that was a whole other thing. But
yeah,
it was weirdly easy.
You're an anomaly, right?
I think that's why I think kind of that's what Brian said. Yeah.
Yeah. You're an anomaly. Yeah. But you can be taught.
Yes.
But then you did do Dinosaurs, and you didn't do the first season, but you did the other 3?
Yes. Yeah. Because I was brought on because there was a female character starting in season 2, Monica de Vertebrae.
Did she come through the window?
Yeah. She was the big blue brontosaurus that's the first dinosaur to be divorced.
Really?
Yes, she was the first to get a divorce license. Yes.
And so you performed that character.
Yes. And that's another thing. I didn't come to Dinosaurs to do hand puppets. I was thrown straight to HDPS. So this was like a year or two of baptism by fire, bam, bam, bam. Yeah.
So you said HDPS. Can you please just define that? And then also just tell us a little bit what that means for those people that might be hearing this and don't know what the heck that is.
That is the Waldo system, and I bet I'm going to say it wrong, and I can't believe it. Henson Digital Performance Studio or System. And I'm confused because we kept calling it different things all the time.
It's one of those two. But it's not like your hand is not in a real puppet. It's not right there in your hand.
Right.
But
it is a mechanical device glove that goes over your hand like a puppet, and has a bunch of joints, and each joint has a potentiometer on it that you would link to a servo or a movement box in the face of the animatronic head being worn by the dinosaur performer. What was cool was any performer could design their own system you could put any movement box on the face onto any joint of your hand that you wanted. So you could move the eyes with your finger, or you could move the lips with your finger, and design the whole program as you want, what works best for you. I loved it. I'm a big tech geek, and I just had a ball with that.
It is different from traditional puppeteering because you're not right there inside a puppet.
Right.
Right. But you're inside something that is connected.
Yeah. And you still get the immediate movement across the room of the face. So, and since you don't watch your own puppet anyway and you watch a monitor, it didn't feel different. Because you're watching a monitor with a movement of something you're doing with your body or your hand. So the connection is still there. And that's why it
I didn't think of that, but you're right. That's true. You're not really aware of what's really going on with your hand. You're just watching the monitor.
Right? Yeah.
And seeing what your hand is doing, do the thing on the screen.
Yeah. And then inherently, the person in the suit generally is watching a little monitor as well sometimes inside those big suits. And there's this weird Spock-like Vulcan mind meld where, you're all two or three of you are performing this character together, and it's really seamless. There's no loss of connection, or you just all become this one being that's moving. It's
really cool. When it works, it's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And it looks effortless, even though there's a lot of concentration, a lot of brain work put into it.
Yes, and spirit work. There's a weird conduit thing happening, like in any kind of performance or creation, or painting or writing. It's that flow thing you click into, and to have a team of people all click into the same flow. It's really lovely.
With Monica, there was no person inside that puppet, was there?
No,
how did she go through the window? And
yeah, she was more of a film creature rather than TV, which means she was a bundle of cables and big joints, and kind of took a different degree of teamwork, because one person would have to, I think she was like 3 or 4 joints. One person would pull a lever for the top joint. One person would pull a lever. Then there was a big fulcrum to move her like up and down, and a big rolling thing to push her into the window and roll her back. And yeah, so she took a lot of time. And
I'll bet.
Time is what made her a film creature. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of that on TV. Yeah.
So this was kind of this was a big TV show. This was a big primetime sitcom. What was that experience like, being on this primetime show?
I was so lucky, first of all, to come out here and get a job like that out of nowhere on such a progressive and affecting show that was written so well.
Yes, it was.
And it had such social impact. It was a dream come true on so many levels, especially the family aspect of being with such a loving, kind group of people. And I knew that was magic, to come out to this very, very frightening town and to land in such a loving situation. That was unique. I haven't really experienced. Well, no, that's not true, because our Muppet stuff is equally beautiful. But the main impact was that we knew, Jim had just passed, and everybody was working really hard to do this for him, basically, and keep his legacy going. And it was really an impactful moment when during the last season, and that last show was really, really hard to do.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil the ending for anybody that hasn't seen the show, but there are many episodes along the way that even now are very of this time, very prescient now.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And I think it's going to be streaming on Disney Plus pretty soon.
That'd be great.
That was the news, I think. But it's very timely.
Because it's a great show. So how long was that period between moving to LA and then getting that primetime show?
A couple months.
You're going to make people really angry. Hold on a second, Julianne. It's time for a word from our sponsor.
All right. Listen up, team over here. Listen up. Take a rollie. We've had a long, difficult season full of ups and downs. Am I right?
Right, Coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking putting your arm up and bringing it down, then up, then down, all season long. We're puppeteers, not weightlifters. And those puppets can get heavy. 1-2 pounds, some of them.
True, Dad.
Yeah.
Up and down, up and down.
And look, we all make our own individual mistakes. I mean, don't we?
Sure do, Coach.
Yeah.
I don't think I do.
Jenkins, remember when you forgot what letter comes after H in the ice cream sketch?
I sure do, Coach. I carry that with me every day.
Of course you do, Jenkins. And Bennett,
Coach.
how many times have I had to remind you that we do not double point when right-handing a principal performer?
Yes, 67 times, Coach.
We're all out there giving our all every day.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too, Coach.
That's why I just gotta bring this up.
It's okay, Coach.
Yeah.
Is he crying?
It's vital to the team that we all, each and every one of us, have spatial awareness.
Spatial what?
Yeah.
What is he talking about?
Yeah, that's right, spatial awareness. Picture it. You're in a scene. You're on camera. You got your puppet up in the air. You're reading your lines off the monitor. You're looking into the camera. You're doing your little character-y things. Yeah, that's a lot to take in.
You said it.
Yeah.
That's why he's the coach.
There's a lot to do in that frame. But what about the others in the scene with you? And I'm not even talking about the puppets in the frame. Yes, you gotta be aware of the composition, true. But you also gotta remember there's a whole lot going on below the frame.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yo, that's a catchy title.
You got to be aware of the human people around you. Your fellow puppeteers. Make sure your arm doesn't get in their way when they're trying to peek off your monitor. Try not to bump someone in the head with your elbow that's up in the air. Watch your leg. Is it in the way of my fellow puppeteer's monitor? And don't let go of your arm rod without a plan, or it'll swing and hit someone in the eye, for Pete's sake.
That's true.
Thank you, Pete. It's just common sense. Be aware of those fellow performers around you, because we're all part of the same team. Am I right?
All right.
Yeah, tell it like it is.
Now, get out there and have some spatial awareness. Who's with me?
Oh, actually, Coach, we're done shooting for the day. We're headed home.
What? Oh, right. Well, spatial awareness tomorrow, then?
Spatial awareness.
Yeah, I'm shouting.
Yeah, tomorrow. Spatial...
Spatial awareness. It's another thing you need to think about.
That's right. Today's episode of Below the Frame is brought to you by Spatial Awareness. Now, hang on. Yes.
Hey, Dad, are you busy?
Yeah, come on in, Jack. Yeah, I am. I'm recording my podcast. Do you need something?
Oh, no, I'm fine. I was just hearing a lot of noise outside the room, so I was wondering what it was.
That was just the fake ad.
Ah, fake ad. Got it.
Do you want to know what the fake ad is about today?
Sure.
Well, it's spatial awareness. Stop staring at me. It's really just a fancy way to say, pay attention to the world around you. When you're puppeteering on a monitor, it can be so easy to just, be focused on that monitor and your character on it, and you're so focused that you don't notice anything else around you. And when you aren't aware of the performers around you, even just the physical, real, three-dimensional world, you can get a little lost, and things happen. Things like your arm or your leg gets in the way of somebody else and they can't see their monitor, and this happens. Somebody gets an arm rod in the eye and that hurts. It's kind of common courtesy among the Muppet performers to be aware of everything around us. So have some spatial awareness. I know it sounds a little silly, but knowing this little piece of information can come in handy when you're working with others, whether it's in television puppetry or anywhere. And I'd like to thank Spatial Awareness for being a sponsor of Below the Frame.
Okay, I'm really pressed for time. I've got an important business meeting to get to.
You don't have a job.
It's a meeting about getting a job.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Jack.
Bye.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Go, 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 below the frame.
Before the break, we were talking with Julianne Busher about getting cast on Dinosaurs only a couple of months after moving to Hollywood. That doesn't really happen that often.
Don't
That's
get
very
too angry, because fate and destiny, because the reason I was working so hard to find work was because my family and the town I come from is just riddled with cancer. And I knew that I had to do something to get, like I was saying, I had just come off of my parents' health insurance and knew I had to do something to make sure that I still had it, because just to be ready, because I knew it was coming just from the pattern of my family history, especially with my grandmother and my mom, who had their cancer very early. So though I got the job right away, right after the job was over, I got sick. I got cancer. So,
And how did
don't
you
get mad. Everything falls into place.
Guys. So, I mean, that's a huge gut punch, even though, like you say, you were kind of
I was prepared in a lot of ways. I mean, another beautiful thing is about having a family that goes through that over and over and over. I think I have 12 or maybe 14 family members now. Is that becomes life. Oh, okay. This is life. People go through this. People get, and you have a strange preparation for it.
How did you deal with it?
Well, since it was like, yeah, my family some families get their teeth pulled, some families get cancer. I just knew, it's like, oh, okay. It was very familiar. The only thing is, what was new was I was the first one to have to take really super aggressive chemotherapy because I was so young. So I was bald at 30, and also had both breasts and both ovaries removed. So I couldn't have children anymore. And I was still single. So it was just like another tweak in the plan of, okay, puppets are on hold for a little bit because I can't put my arms up. And I'm bald. So on camera's on hold for a little bit. So that's when voiceover started.
And you have done a ton of voiceover work.
Yeah.
You've done video games. Name a couple of video games that you've done that you're featured in prominently.
Elder Scrolls is my favorite. StarCraft 2, bunch of the Star Wars games. Yeah, I really enjoy voiceover.
Are you also a gamer? Do you play video games?
Yes. Love it.
Really?
And how weird.
I didn't know that.
Yes. I love it. It's a part of the whole tech thing. But how weird to like play a game and listen to yourself and then kill yourself and then it's very
That's
weird.
pretty cool. And you've done voiceover stuff for Disneyland. Have you done it for all the parks? Have you done it for every park or just Disneyland?
I'm assuming they utilize it in all the parts. You record one and then it kind of gets But my super favorite was doing stuff for the Black Spire Outpost for Star Wars Land. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
So if we go there now, what would we hear you? What do we hear you saying? Do you remember something or like where it is?
It's so random, and you would not recognize me. So
Have you been there and gone? That's me.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Especially waiting in line for the I'm gonna forget what it's called. The latest ride that just opened in like February or.
The Rise of the Resistance.
Yes,
the Resistance.
Yes, that big wait in line.
You
can hear me doing stuff, and
that's so cool.
It's pretty awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What else?
I'm Daisy Ridley's voice match.
This is a question here. Why? Okay, I can understand maybe in the park, you might need a voice match.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
you need voice matches for all kinds of things. Like when movies are played on airplanes, they have to take out all the swear words and do all this stuff and clean them. And we come in and put in the clean words.
So I do have a question about that then. What swear words did Joan Cusack say in Chicken Little?
Why did I have to do? Sometimes it's just a line change because they are gone already on their next movie. And it's just too expensive to bring them back to say, hi, Charlie, or, whatever.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, that's a very unusual skill.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I would say. So Daisy Ridley, there's a bunch of different ones, but Joan Cusack, Angelina Jolie.
Halle
Jodie
Berry.
Foster? Halle Berry?
Oh, do you know Halle Berry's story of mine?
No.
This is so weird. So I went to do Catwoman and called my mom. I'm like, oh my gosh, I did Halle Berry's whole movie, Catwoman. And she goes, oh yeah, Halle Berry. Her mother, when I was a cheerleader, Halle Berry's mother was a cheerleader across town, and we cheered against each other at a football game. What?
Huh?
What? Isn't that weird?
Yeah. That's
how's that even possible?
I don't know.
They were rival cheerleaders. Halle Berry's mom and my mom in our hometown. What?
That's a weird connection. That's one of those weird things.
Did I say it was Halle Berry's mom, or did I say it was Halle Berry?
Halle Berry's mom.
Okay.
Yeah. Did I say it was Halle Berry?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's just such a weird story.
No, it's very odd that just happened. That just popped into your mom's mind.
Right? She's like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, when they were rivals.
Yeah,
What do you like about voiceover acting?
I like that I can just do creatures and any person of any age it's limitless. Limitless.
Yeah. A lot of people say that about puppetry too.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you
can
can,
see the
you don't have
connection.
to have your shoulders and hips replaced doing voiceover.
That's true. That is true. You're right. So
which I haven't had to have yet, but
good. Well, fingers crossed. So you did Sesame Street too for a few seasons.
I did. I'm sad about it a little bit because I just started and then I got sick and I couldn't come back. But yeah, oh my gosh, that was so much fun.
Do you remember your time on Sesame Street? What was your first day like?
My first day, I went, I was looking around and saw Snuffleupagus hanging from the ceiling in storage, and I was horrified. And
Yeah.
Big Bird scared me. He's big.
He is a big bird.
It took a little bit. There were some tears, and he was very big. And I remember when I was little, they came to Cleveland for some reason, and I remember meeting him and being terrified. I was at the TV
it's
studio.
overwhelming. They're small when they're on your TV. To a kid, that's how they were little. And then when you see them in real life, even as an adult.
It took a little bit, but he gave me one of his feathers, and then everything was okay.
But
and
you were friends.
We were friends. Everybody was friends. And my favorite was Jerry Nelson. Absolutely, 100%.
What was it about Jerry that you were drawn to?
He was a bit more quiet and introspective the way I was. So, we could just kind of hang out and talk about music. And he said, he used to go to the jazz club, Baked Potato, here in LA when he would come out. And he said, just go there and wear the Kermit jacket, say my name, and, and then we would go there sometimes. But there's just something about him, his caring and his support.
Yeah, he was a unique guy, and the coolest guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And he knew I was a little different, with all the science and the tech and being quiet, and he was just so supportive of that.
You did a lot of roles on Sesame Street when you were there. You played Sherry Netherland.
Sherry Netherland, yes.
Yeah, and for old school watchers of Sesame Street, she was the owner of the Furry Arms Hotel.
Arms, yep. I was like, they sent me a picture of her. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to Margaret Dumont this up. That's who she is. She's just going to try to keep it together, and all the idiots are coming in, and yeah.
And so let's talk about that. You to play her, because you were the first to play Sherry.
Yes.
And so they sent you a picture, you said, and you were just looking at the picture, and it was kind of feeding you what you thought she was gonna.
Oh yeah,
be. I love the Margaret Dumont. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, because she's in a hotel, and it's like, oh yeah, we have to.
And can you talk about that character just a little bit? What were you able to do with it? Did you find anything new in your skill set that you were able to do with that character that maybe you hadn't done before?
Well, gosh, I guess that was Sesame Street was really when was that? I think that was the first time I really got to do a character, like full length like that, and really develop it. So there was that for sure. And being able to, collaborate and say, how much am I allowed to add? What's she allowed to say? And learning about the children's educational situation as opposed to Dinosaurs, which was a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Right? So,
you're going from a comedy, just a sitcom, to a show that has a lot of curriculum-based information that you're trying to get out. And, there's a little fine line you can walk that can change things. But then some things are like, please don't change that. Okay.
Yeah. And the interesting stories, when Frank was there doing some of the interstitial days, telling me a story about, let me see, he was actually taken into the office at Sesame Street when he started doing Cookie Monster, and they're like, Frank, I don't know about this whole me want, you're just not speaking correctly, and you're going to affect some kids, and we're a little worried about that. And he's like, I promise you, everyone, there is no child that's going to go to law school, pass the bar, open their office, and bring someone in and say to a client, "Me want to represent you."
It's hilarious. I've never heard that story, but I love it. That's so great.
Yes.
That's great and very true.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I understand it. It's a fine line, and
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. While you were on Sesame Street, do you have any favorite sketches that you got to do that you can remember?
Oh gosh, so many. I loved being Blecka, the little baby girl Grouch. Her favorite things were sardine shakes.
Ugh.
Sardines and ice cream. Yeah. Blah.
Yeah.
Just all of it. It was just lovely. I'm being all nostalgic right now. I'm like all sad that I got sick at that time, and couldn't come back.
So what did you do then? You dealt with being sick.
Yes.
You got better.
Yes.
And then what did you do?
Then what happened? I made a film about my experience.
You did a documentary?
My very first, it was a 70 millimeter, 20-minute film. It was right before all the digital stuff happened. So I spent a ridiculous amount of money on a 20-minute film. But that one, did the festival circuit. That did really well. What happened after that? Just kept going.
You're doing some voiceover stuff?
Yeah. More puppet stuff.
More puppet stuff.
That's when Puppet Up started.
That's when it was? So 2000.
Well, it was kind of after. Yeah, I mean, we did. There was a lot of HDPS and development.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask you. Because you've done so many things, Julianne, that it's so hard to find a through line. You've done so much. So I'm going to name something.
Okay.
That you performed in.
Okay.
And just throw out something that you remember about the experience, all right?
Okay.
Does that sound like... Okay, here we go. The first one is The Indian in the Cupboard, directed by Frank Oz.
Oh, bless his heart. He was so awesome to bring me in to do a rat for one day. It was just a rat jumping out of a hole.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it was awesome.
Okay. The Country Bears.
Okay. I loved... Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, love-hate on the Country Bears.
So what's the love-hate?
Love, because that head that was built by John Criswell for my bear, I played Tennessee, was beautiful. Beautiful. The lip movement, the facial expressions that I was able to get out of that bear. That was another HDPS animatronic head situation. That was gorgeous. I'm just geeking out. It was just stunning. He's a genius.
Geek away.
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh. Hate relationship was that for whatever reason we were all taken into a trailer and told, you're just like animal trainers. You're not really performers, and that's how you're going to be treated. And I was like, okay.
Great.
Yeah. But it was okay because it was all, dinosaur people, and we all loved each other.
You were working with people you knew, and so that makes it a little easier.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, that's just a suit talking. We all love each other. We'll just keep going.
Right. Okay, here's another one.
But that was...
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. That was like the first attempt to do one of the Disneyland rides as a movie. And then Pirates was after that, and that did really well. But Country Bears, not so much, but that's okay.
Still cool.
Right? It was, yeah.
Here's one. Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yay! I'm getting Sarah Marshall. That was awesome. I was the angel in the Dracula musical.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome. Oh my God, we had so much fun. It was extra fun because he was so excited, Jason Segel, about this Dracula musical. It was like a dream come true for him, and to have it come to life and to have us be a part of it, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, he kind of becomes a little kid.
He totally did.
In those moments, doesn't he? He did that on the Muppets.
Did he?
First Muppets. Yes, he became a kid. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. That's great.
He was so enamored of them, and it's really nice to see somebody just like become a kid again and just live in that for a little while.
Yeah, that's what these puppets do to everybody.
They do.
That's what's so magical about it.
Even if it's a puppet in a Dracula musical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saying I'm pregnant. Yes.
Here's another one. Sid the Science Kid.
And the science kid, yay!
You're one of the main kids. You were May, right?
Oh, I love May so much. I was so happy to be presenting like a little introvert, nerdy, probably autistic, which is why I love her even more. Representing the kids out there like her.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved her so much. And grandma, feisty, crazy grandma.
It's fun when you can dig in on those roles that are, really character roles like grandma, and then do something a little just more centered, a more centered kind of role that's not as wacky.
Yes. Yeah, more vulnerable. I love the side characters more than like being the main lead. It's more fruitful. It's more interesting.
And a lot of times you get a lot of real good stuff to play with.
Because nobody's watching you. So
that's true. You were on Community. There were some puppets on Community.
Yes. That was awesome. I was the puppet version of Shirley. Yeah, that was exciting. They were super excited too, just to see yourself as a puppet.
I know. That would be so cool. Have you ever had a puppet version of you made?
No, although Denise.
Me either.
The Denise pig in with the glasses was not too far off. That was interesting.
Okay.
I was told that was a little homage, but
all right.
I don't know if that's true, but
all right. The 53rd annual Grammy Awards
with CeeLo Green, yay! Piddles the pug.
With Piddles the pug. Now, tell me about this Piddles the pug. This is a character that you played in on the Stuffed and Unstrung Puppet Up show.
Up, yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, I was with the original group of Puppet Up, and it was a really super magical time because what happened was Disney had just purchased the Muppets. So we had been playing with this huge bank of puppets that were now suddenly thrown in a box and sent over to Disney. So we had no more puppets to play with. But we did have a room full of whatnot pieces from Dr. Seuss. So I was invited to design a bunch of puppets, and the ones that were selected, I was able to go and build from the pieces in the barn. And
you drew what you wanted to do? You drew it?
I got to draw.
Drawing. Yeah. You got to do something that you did when you were a kid. I love that. Then you got to then create something like your mom would create costumes for you. How did you know how to make the puppet?
Jane Gutnick just watched her. I just watch. I'm one of those ones that I watch. I'm quiet. I watch, and then I am able to do it.
That's pretty cool,
right? But Piddles was one of my designs, and I was like, oh gosh, Hey Jane, do we have a pug around? 'Cause I drew a pug with a diaper. I'm like, this is freaking hilarious. And she said, oh my gosh, we've got the Dog City pug. So threw a diaper on her and her.
Oh, and you got to do that so you did that on the Grammys, but then you were saying it's part of that character is part of Puppet Up, which is this adult improv show with
super
puppets.
Adult.
It was created by Brian Henson and Patrick Bristow from the Groundlings. The Groundlings is a well-known and famous improv group. He was kind of the host, the moderator. He kept the show running.
Mm-hmm.
So you came to this as an experienced improviser.
Yes.
Did everybody come to this experience as an experienced improviser?
Some at different degrees. Yeah. And the beautiful thing at the first was, since it was all Henson performers, there was that beautiful Muppety Henson energy and Muppety Henson sense of humor.
Yeah, I mean, originally it was puppeteers who were the improvisers, right?
Yeah. And that's a whole different world. And that beautiful light. And again, us all knowing each other and just laughing endlessly. And
then as the shows kind of did different iterations, and lately, in the past couple of years, I think they've trained improvisers to be puppeteers. Were you around for any of that stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that's when I started to set my sights elsewhere. I'm not a big fan of cruel humor. And sometimes some of the other schools of improv outside of Second City can get a little mean, and I'm not a big fan of that. So.
Well, the thing I was thinking, and I hear that, I understand that. It's hard enough to learn one of these skills, puppeteering or improvising, and being good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so having to learn, either being a puppeteer and having to learn improvisation, or being an improviser and having to learn puppetry. I mean, which one do you think is harder, being the puppeteer learning to improvise, or being the improviser learning to puppeteer?
I think it's the improviser learning to puppeteer.
I think they've found some great people that are improvisers that came out of it that are now puppeteers as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It took a long,
I think it's hard.
Been years for them learning.
It takes, just like it takes years to learn, even if you're just going to be a puppeteer, it takes years to actually just learn the skill and the movements and the subtle head tilts and things that you can do, and working on a monitor, except for you, Julianne, who didn't have any problems.
I don't know why. I don't know.
I've heard of that happening a couple of times. I have.
And that's tricky too. It's like, well, are the improv actors learning the puppeteer? Did they also have dance? Did they also have movement? Did they also have actual acting, which is different than improv? Yeah. Have they had physical training in other forms? Did you do karate? Do you know your body? Are you connected?
Yeah. Can you translate it up through into your arm? Can you get something to come out and it still be funny? Yeah. Any experiences from that time with Puppet Up that jump out at you that you'd like to share?
Just how much I love improv. I especially love singing, song improv. It's super easy for me. Like calling out a song style, a music style, and improvising a song. Oh my God, that's the most fun.
And did you do that with Puppet Up?
Yeah, we had an amazing music director, Willie Etra. From here, we're very lucky to have him. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And he could just play anything.
Yep.
So that was a whole other skill.
And he could, the way he was following us, and that's another one of those Vulcan mind melds,
Yeah. You kind of know where he's going. He knows where you're going, and you just somehow you end beautifully on this improvisational musical number.
Oh my God.
Amazing. Yeah, I saw the show a couple of times, and it's just amazing to watch really skilled performers do this really cool thing.
Right? Yeah. Boy, that's another thing too. If you really don't know how to puppeteer and you're trying to do improv and run around a stage in your gigantic boots, somebody could get killed.
Yeah. That's right. People could lose their life.
Jeez.
We'll be back with more from Julianne Busher in a moment, but first, we're going to ask a puppeteer about not puppets.
Ask a puppeteer about not puppets.
On today's Ask a Puppeteer About Not Puppets, we asked Jennifer Barnhart a question about, not puppets. All right, Jen Barnhart, streaming or live TV?
Oh, wow. Live TV. I like live events. Also, I'm so fickle. I'm so fickle when it comes to streaming. I binge for a season and then I never go back to it.
You get bored?
And it's awful. I get distracted.
Okay.
I get distracted. I get restless. First of all, I'm really not a good consumer of any kind of television anyway. I'm really, really not. I always feel like there's too many other things to do.
I like that though. That's good. You're out there creating the art. You don't need to watch it.
Well, it's so embarrassing. People be like, "Oh, have you seen? I haven't seen any of these things yet." It's embarrassing.
No, it's not embarrassing. Bad. No, you're,
and it's not out of any desire to be like, "Oh, I can't bear to watch my work." Heavens, I don't do any of that. And in fact, I often will tell performers, puppeteers, and otherwise, listen, it's good to watch your own work because it's painful, but that's how you learn, and that's how you get better.
That's how you learn. Yeah.
But generally, I don't watch things I've done or that anyone else has done.
Ask a puppeteer about not puppets.
We are back with Julianne Busher. Julianne, over the years, you have done a lot with the Muppets.
Yay!
You were in Muppet Classic Theater, which is like way back.
1994.
You were in the Kokomo music video.
Yay! Yes.
You were at, was it Muppet Fest in 2001 when they did the Muppet Show live?
Yes. Yeah.
Muppets Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Muppets Most Wanted.
Yeah.
Outside Lands with the Electric Mayhem. I mean, a bunch of stuff, right? I'm sure there's more
Outside
things
Lands,
too.
Oh my God, yes.
Wasn't that fun?
Yes.
And you currently play Yolanda,
Yay!
the rat, who, now that was a role that was originally in Muppets Take Manhattan and performed by Karen Prell.
Yes.
And then Camille
in
Benora played Yolanda for home video.
Okay.
And then you played Yolanda for Muppet Classic Theater. And then Alice played Yolanda for Muppets Kitchen with Cat Core. And then you again for ABC Muppet series.
Yes.
So why so many performers? No, I'm just kidding. What's my real question is, tell me about Yolanda. Who is she to you?
Yolanda.
Because you're the one who's played her the most and the longest and had the most material, really.
Well, yeah. I mean, that bit in 1994 for Muppets Theater, Classic Theater, that was her first gigantic bit, I think. She was in that whole show. Well, I mean, of course, I had to honor what was done before and realize that she was a feisty little New York rat, and there's a thing going on with Rizzo.
Yep. And on the ABC Muppets, Yolanda was cast as Kermit's assistant.
Yes.
She had her own human-sized desk right outside Kermit's office, right?
Yep. Had to hop up on that desk chair and
We got back there a couple times. I helped you with Yolanda or something, I feel like a few times. Let's talk about that show for a minute, the ABC Muppet Show. It was a primetime series.
Yay.
Another one for you.
Yes.
And not only did you play Yolanda, you played Kermit's love interest, Denise, that we talked about a little bit earlier.
Woo-woo.
Tell me about Denise. What do you remember about the experience of playing Denise? Very controversial character.
Yeah, and a lot of the controversy personal controversy was, is she going to be mean to Kermit? Because I don't know if I can handle that. So there was a lot of massaging and trying to figure out how we're going to operate her and what does she mean? Is she a gold digger, or what is she exactly? And it just didn't feel right because Kermit wouldn't go for that either. So
right.
Which is kind of what the whole series was about, was how mean is okay with the Muppets, and so we were just always walking on eggshells and trying to figure it out.
We really were, and not just with Denise, but Kermit and Piggy's relationship and everybody's relationship, really. What's interesting about that show to me was that the Muppets are a group of characters that love each other.
Yeah,
and they lift each other up. And they're the underdogs, and they do that. They lift each other up. And when you put them in this kind of situation, this sitcom situation, with
it's a teardown situation, and
it is. It's like it's almost a lot of jabbing and insulting for laughs.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had great scripts and really good writing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we got to really dig in and play some fun parts and great storylines. And
yes, and that's when Uncle Deadly kind of blossomed. Yeah.
And so I had a great time doing the show. But I do kind of acknowledge, maybe that wasn't the right tone.
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't have the right tone.
And Denise suffered for that, especially at the end. To watch a Muppet become a Muppet is just part of the family as soon as they're born. But to know that because she was like a love interest, that she's not going to return, it's like, oh,
I know.
Because everybody loves her, all the other Muppets love her. It's awkward.
But overall, I would say for us as the performers, it was a great experience. We had a fun time working on that show, and it just was cool to be on a primetime series.
Oh, it was exciting. It was amazing. Yes. So lucky. So and the guests were amazing.
They were. Who was your favorite guest? Did you have a favorite guest on that show?
Willie Nelson.
Oh, I was going to say Willie Nelson. My dad loved Willie Nelson.
Oh.
And I was just looking at some pictures earlier, because I think you were assisting me.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of us with Willie Nelson sitting on the hospital bed playing. and we're there, and it's either before we start rolling or something, but you're sitting in front of the monitor looking at Willie Nelson. I'm sure you're looking at Willie Nelson, and you're just, your hands are like up by your chin, and you just like have this big smile on your face. It's so cute. And you know, you're right. Having those people like Willie Nelson on the show.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
So much fun.
Yeah. So just a little trivia thing of that hospital scene was my mom had just passed, and I was actually in another shot. I was helping. Janice was kind of comforting an older woman in a bed while Willie Nelson was playing the guitar. And I was operating her arm, you know, stroking the old woman, stroking her hand. And I was like, oh, God, this woman looks exactly like my mom in hospice. So I was weeping while we were shooting and like not making a noise, but like comforting the woman and weeping. And, you know, it was...
Yeah. I do have a question for you.
Yes.
What do you think that you bring to the table?
Gosh. Well, somebody just wrote me something lovely on Instagram saying something that it's good to see you doing Beverly Plume, because she's really, what did they say? You're able to honor the integrity of the Muppet style. Somehow you understand the Muppet style and you brought it to this new character, and that's what's so exciting.
I like that. Yes.
Yeah,
but what do you think?
Oh, Jesus.
You're not going to get away from it that easily.
I don't know.
I have thoughts. If you don't know, I do. I think I know what it is.
Okay.
But you say, what do you think?
Well,
what do you think you bring to the table? You know.
Being able to sing, being able to, just the 30 years of experience, having a bank of character voices. I guess that's it.
There's more than that. I think it's your sharp wit. I think you're very funny. I think that it's your skills as an improviser and as a puppeteer. I think that you mesh well with the group. There are probably many other things. I think it's all of those things and everything that you said too. And even that thing that the person said on Instagram. It's all of those things.
Awesome. Thanks.
You're one of the Muppet performers.
Yay. Thank you.
Yeah. And being one of those Muppet performers, you got to do the Muppets Take the Bowl and the Muppets Take the O2 shows. We got to do those shows together, remember? Do you remember those shows?
I remember those shows every day. That's why I have the poster up on my wall. That was the most, I'm crying. That was the most beautiful experience, especially every night after, at the end, for the whole audience to sing Rainbow Connection with Kermit. Just beautiful.
Yeah, it was an amazing thing to bring this much happiness and joy to people.
Yeah.
And that came right back at us on the stage.
Yeah, because we've never been in a position to feel that. To really, we understand it, we know it, but to feel it back like that at such a huge level, I'll never forget that.
I remember you got to do Wayne and Wanda. You got to do a Wayne and Wanda bit.
Gosh.
It was a runner, wasn't it? Was it 2 or 3 times that you came back?
Yes.
2 times maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of times during the show, yeah.
And each one, there was a shark in one that devoured you.
That was great. And that meant a huge amount to me because I love Yolanda, but Wanda is one of the classic characters from the original Muppet Show. So that was like, okay, that's super special. Cool. Yep.
Yeah. And I remember you got to help me with Floyd in the Electric Mayhem set.
Oh my God.
You played Floyd's bass for me because I couldn't do it. I had to hold the puppet up.
I love playing the bass with Floyd. I love that.
That was fun.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me do that because,
oh man.
To be in a rock group and rock out with you guys. And
I know. It's fun to pretend you're in a rock band, isn't it?
Right? Well, it felt like that at Outside Lands.
It did. It was
right.
Such a. This kind of goes back to what you were saying about being able to play any kind of character, or that can do anything. We got to be in a rock band. We're in a rock band.
Right? Yeah. We did a concert at a
Yeah. I was a little nervous because I didn't know if anybody was going to show up, and then I heard that people were running to get to the stage, and then when we looked out, it was filled. I don't know how many people were there. 25,000 people. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I've heard numbers. And
it was such a cool experience.
Yeah. And the typical concert thing with the balls going, back.
Yeah.
Big posters of the characters. And oh my God.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience. It was great. And I hope we get to do this again. Doing it for Hollywood Bowl and then going over to London and doing the show again. And
right. Yeah.
It was a blast. Muppets Now. You mentioned Beverly Plume just a minute ago, but all episodes are currently streaming on Disney Plus.
Yes.
And you play, like you said, Beverly Plume. She's kind of a nervous, excitable turkey, but she runs the show on Okie Dokie Cooking with the Swedish Chef.
She tries really hard.
She does try
to work.
She has better luck with the guest chef.
Yes.
Than she does with Swedish Chef. That's no surprise.
Yes, as long as she's not trying to fall in love with them like Roy Choi.
That's right.
She's got to calm down a little bit.
But that's what I say. She's excitable. But can you tell me about the creation of that character? Do you have an inspiration for her that you draw from?
One of them is there is a British cooking show, and I apologize, I can't think of her name. That was part of it. Then Julia Child was another addition to that character. Pot, the character Stu.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's a little bit like Sherry Netherland too. I brought her back a little bit because I've got that character who is also a little bit like Grandma in Sid the Science Kid too. I
love that you can take just little pieces and go, all right, it's that, and just shove them all together and then.
But you also had these core characters. I think everybody has these core characters from like relatives and stuff like that just live with you, that just kind of keep getting peppered through, new characters throughout your life.
Anything you remember from how that shoot went for Okie Dokie Cooking?
That was so fun. Boy, we really had to do a lot in just a few days. So that was a really, really hard work. Well, that was the thing, was like I was in all the shots, so I didn't really break much,
Yeah, there was not a lot of breaks. So just for people watching, I don't remember how many cameras we had. We had at least 2.
Yeah.
Maybe even 1, 2, maybe even 3.
Yeah.
But normally,
I remember all the split screens on the monitors. It was like, oh God, which one do you watch? Yeah, that was
That's right. So we were watching the cameras. We talk about working on monitors and looking off a monitor and knowing how to play off a monitor. But when you have not only the wide shot that you're seeing, but then also like a 2 shot of your character, Beverly Plume, and and Danny Trejo, and then you have another camera that has a 2 shot of Swedish Chef and Beverly Plume, and you got to watch kind of all 3 of those at one time so that they all look good
on
every monitor.
Sometimes it's not possible. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not possible.
Yeah.
And then we just hope that in editing we can look at it and go, please don't use that shot. That one doesn't look right.
Because your hair, your human hair is in one, but when you try to move it out of that one, it's in the other shot. Yeah.
It's a tricky thing to make that magic trick work when you're looking at more than one camera at a time, more than one shot. But I think you're hilarious in it.
And great, though. I love this show. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it looks great. And you also played Beak R, which is really funny too.
Trivia on that. That was how I spoke. They didn't do anything. The only filter they put on was like, it sounds like it's coming out of a phone.
I was going to ask, first of all, I know that you can do that voice. I know that you can do that. Let me just say a little something to me.
I'm so happy that you asked me to come on your show.
It's hilarious. It's so, because it feels like it's being put together in a computer, the words, the syllables, and the inflections. It's so great. It's kind of your best Alexa / Siri voice, I guess. It's so funny, especially when you have it up against David's Beaker and Dave's Bunsen. It's just 3 idiots. But now, how did we shoot that? Because I don't remember. You were there on set.
No, not for that.
You're not.
I didn't have to be. I just did ADR'd it after.
You just ADR'd it. Because I couldn't remember how we did it. And I didn't remember seeing you. I was like, well, I guess she could have been there and I just didn't see her.
No.
So you went back through and you ADR'd everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's so great. It's really good. Julianne, I have a question about character.
Yes.
Creating a character. So we've talked about voiceover roles. We've talked about acting roles. We've talked about puppeteering roles. What do you think are the most important things to you when you're creating a character?
If it's a character for a show, I really need to see a picture of it before I can like come up with a voice or some kind of. It's really important to be able to do that. I mean, what's happening is with all these NDAs and things, like with animation, they can't really send pictures of the characters anymore. It's like, oh my God, you have to be able to.
So how do you do it? Do you just throw a bunch of voices at a wall and hope one of them sticks?
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's hard because.
That is hard.
Like seeing that picture of Sherry Netherland, with her hair up and the pearls and the cat-eye glasses, what's coming. I mean, it gets more narrowed down. Yeah, boy, it's hard.
So a visual is important to you.
Yeah. And if you don't have the visual, then I go with, from my past, relatives, people I've met. I do a lot of people watching. I'm the big nerd with the sketchbook at the zoo, writing things down and, drawing people. And so there's that. I got like a character book. But again, just going through the character book, you can't really just like rip a page out and throw it on a character in a show because who knows what the writer was thinking. So in the best world, it's working with the writer and being able to talk to them and say, what's the concept? How do they work with the other characters?
So that kind of a collaboration, trying to figure out what it is together.
Yeah.
I think that's important. And
then who are they going to be in the scene with? Because that was another thing with Beverly Plume. It's like, okay, it's Swedish Chef. So how do you, create a balance and a match to his energy?
Since I've known you, Julianne, you always are doing something different that you're interested in. Not, that's not in the world of voiceover, and it's not in the world of acting, and it's not in the world of Muppets, and it's something very different. And when we were doing the ABC Muppet show, I think is when it was. Maybe it was when the Muppets take the bowl. I think maybe it was then.
Yeah.
You were very excited because you were going to take a class. Can you tell me and the people listening to this podcast what that class was?
I took a class in anatomical dissection with untreated bodies where I was actually part of the team that was dissecting the body over 6 days. And it was awesome.
Let me just reiterate. You were in a class where you were dissecting a human body.
Yes.
Why?
Why?
No. I mean, there actually is a very good reason why you were interested in doing this and what it was relating to. And I think it's fascinating. So.
Yes. The reason ultimately was I have been studying and being concerned with why puppeteers end up having their shoulders replaced and hips replaced and, problems with our necks. And what are we doing not wrong, but what are we missing in terms of how we're operating and our self-care in between work and self-care during work? So on top of a lot of studying of yoga and movement and restorative physical work and things like that, I discovered a class where yoga instructors were actually invited to partake in this anatomical dissection. And what we were focusing on is fascia, which is, I don't know if you've ever taken like a piece of chicken and pulled back the skin, and between the skin and the meat is this beautiful glistening threads of connective tissue. So the theory with fascial studies is that this is basically another organ. Your skin is an organ, and this fascial network running underneath, it also wraps around all the muscle fibers. It's this a massive system in your body that, when we're working on the body and doing the dissection, if we manipulate the toes and the foot, things are moving in the shoulder and the arm. And if we twist the arm around, the hip is pulling up. So it's this whole idea of tensegrity, and that was part of my study to try to learn how to develop a system of movement and training for puppeteers to stop being so harmed by what we're doing. Actually.
And are you still working on what that end result is?
Yes, that, and I'm super excited because now they have online anatomical dissection courses during COVID.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm developing a program for us to be
very
able
cool.
to.
And now I'm hungry for chicken. All right, Julianne, I have some rapid fire questions that I'm going to ask you now, okay?
Oh gosh, okay.
That's all right. So whatever comes to your mind.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay.
What is the hardest part about being a puppeteer?
The physical pain.
What's the easiest part about being a puppeteer?
The joyful, fantastic work and being with people I love.
What is your biggest strength as a puppeteer or performer?
Being like triple threat girl and having all these inherent skills.
What's your biggest weakness?
Being an introvert and not knowing what to do socially after the show.
What is one of your favorite things about being a Muppet performer?
Everything. The family and the characters and the whole life of it.
If you weren't a puppeteer or a voiceover actor or an actor, what would be your career?
I would be doing graphic novels and writing in a little cottage on the East Coast and with an English garden and having tea every day.
Oh. What's the best piece of advice that you've gotten during your career?
Just keep going and get an IRA and invest.
Oh, okay. There you go. Jerry Nelson, we spoke about him earlier. He once said to me, Sesame Street's great, you know, but always have something that is your own that you create.
Yeah.
So Julianne, what is that for you?
A big anatomical dissection course thing that helps us not lose our shoulders and hips.
There you go. That's good. That's it. You did it. Thank you so much, Julianne, for talking to me on Below the Frame.
Thank you, Matt. This was awesome. Thank you so much for including me.
You bet.
Yay. Can I turn my air conditioner back on?
No.
What?
That's Below the Frame. Please connect with us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook so we know that you're out there. Our show today was produced by me. Our theme song was written by Stephanie DeBruzzo and performed by the Mighty Weaklings. Our podcast artwork was created by Dave Holteen at daveholteendesign.com. The award from our sponsor Players in the Spatial Awareness ad were Austin Costello, Megan Pifus, Chris Thomas Hayes, Haley Jenkins, Tal Bennett, Kathy Kim, Peter Lintz, and Tyler Bunch. Thanks to Julianne Busher, Jennifer Barnhart, Tyler Bunch, Peter Lintz, and my son Jack for being a part of this episode. And thanks to you, the fans, for listening. I'm Matt Vogel. We'll see you next time when we go Below the Frame. Bye.
Go, go, go.